Use your accent, Giles.
Hello there. we are Connect One Design, and I am English, not Australian.
How are you?
Welcome. Good to see you, man.
Nice to see you.
Connect One Design.
That's you?
Dun dun dun. And this is Heather, one of my partners.
Hi there. How are you?
Good, how's it going?
Len.
So Sarah Ty is one of the other original partners of Connect One Design. And Rodney is the development manager of our other company, Plantium. Plantium is all about changing the way the world sees plants, something we're super passionate about. And so it's been great to have that outgrowth, because we think, hopefully, as time comes, we have more and more impact on exactly that, as people making better decisions about plants.
My name's Giles Thornley. I am the founder. Sarah, Ty, and Heather Henry over there, and we have another Argentinian chap in Denver. In BASALT, I mean, we started in my bedroom.
Spare bedroom.
My spare bedroom. Yeah, this is not an X-rated podcast. Spare bedroom in 2010, and then we moved over to Heather's garage in Carbondale, 2011, 12. 13, and then 14 I think we arrived here. We opened up the door, the waft of Subway was enough to see us.
So let's go over here.
So I'm Sarah, and this is Heather. We are two of the other 4 partners at Connect One Design.
Rodney O'Byrne, moved to the Valley in 2011 from Seattle. Spent most of my career in Seattle working in tech, Microsoft and such, high-profile events, live events.
You came here to meet Connect One Design. So Connect One Design is our landscape architecture and land planning company, the one that has done Midland Park, etc. Well, the idea probably started 8 years ago when we started the company. Was the idea of a plant database, and one thing leads to another, and an idea kind of grows, and that became the Plantium. So the Plantium company is a whole separate entity, which is a software company, cloud-based application that helps landscape professionals find and organize and evaluate plants so they can do great things in a plant database. And the Plantium shows them graphs of like their water use and flower color and seasonal interest and all this great stuff that was this outgrowth of us as landscape architects. So that's kind of the 2 companies that are all in this same office. Specific to BASALT, we mentioned Midland Park. So Midland Park actually was one of our Connect One Design's founding projects. Giles' original company, GTLA, was the one that submitted the proposal and got shortlisted for the design for Midland Park. And then he buggers off to England after we get shortlisted and said, "Here you go, ladies, you gotta go to the interview." So Sarah and I sit there in the interview and totally crushed it. But meanwhile, they look at us and go, "So which one of you is the GTLA?
The GT of GTLA, conspicuously not present, but
neither of us.
we're much better looking than the GT part of the GTLA, so it was for the best.
No, I was meeting with the Irish president at the time, so it's a pretty good excuse. It's never ending. It's never ending. Just gonna drop the mic here. But yeah, no, that was our real first breakout. That was like our first movie that we got. It's our longest lasting project, yeah. We're still working on it even this year.
Yeah, this
seven years later.
What's wrong with people like me that just found that park?
Sleeper. It's a sleeper park.
It's a sleeper park. No one really knows about this. It's to be discovered because so much emphasis is on the negativity. spun around the Pan and Fork Park. They sort of lump it all into one area. But
Midland, we had all this great outreach to begin with. You get a lot of community involvement early on, but then sometimes it's hard to market some of these amazing assets other than kind of through the Parks and Recreation Department. Final design is kind of coming out to the public spaces a little bit more, which was always the intention of the master plan, so that it doesn't require quite as much discovery. People will see it.
Well, there's a lot of argument for the Pan and Fork being a park, but I think that's one of the things that I think a lot of people don't really know. Like, should it be a park? Should it be like more business kind of space? You know, is there an argument to not have that other park?
Now it's just in the realm of like professional opinion, and probably each of us has a different one. I think it would be unfortunate to see all of that space on really what could be one of the most energizing corners, all dedicated to park. I think that parks are amazing. They provide relief within density and activity and buildings and having to have parking, you know, all the things that development requires. They clearly provide relief within that, but there's only so much energy that's created around those. You know, right behind you there is a really great photo of one of the busiest corners in downtown Aspen. It's the corner of Spring and Hopkins, and that was a redevelopment that we did there. You look at what that streetscape does to, you know, anchoring and creating form and identity for a town and energy on a corner like that. You don't get as much of that with a park. You get a very different thing from a park, from a land planning perspective. I think that there is a mix of those two things, very appropriate for that site in BASALT. What I hope is that the dialogue doesn't continue to be sort of all or nothing. It becomes a very different dialogue than when you do this and just solicit sort of personal opinions. I think this is a great way to get like the additional opinions and just additional thoughts out there, not in that public realm, and not just the thoughts of kind of elected officials.
you know, the framework is in place for whatever BASALT needs to grow into. I think there doesn't need to be a rush to make this decision. I personally really feel like there's enough parks going on in BASALT right now for the town. Some sort of hospitality and retail could live in harmony, but I think BASALT's really trying to figure out what it's trying to be, especially the old town BASALT. Willits is so far a vibrant downtown core, and it seems to have sucked quite a lot of the activity out of the downtown. Old downtown BASALT.
Yeah, and Giles gave pretty exhaustive answers, and considering none of us
You
really,
exhaust me.
and considering that none of us live here, again, you know, our opinions are just from an outside perspective, but by dint of the fact that we are here all the time, we're trying to entertain ourselves in BASALT sort of on a regular basis, before or after work, where to entertain clients, where to dance, where to drink. We can always find somewhere to drink, don't worry.
Exactly. Like there, for example.
Using that entire parcel for a park won't recapture that, but you know, maybe recapturing that is not the goal of the residents of the town of BASALT. You know, maybe leaving that in Willits is more preferable.
The cautionary part would be, while you don't necessarily want to rush into things, you can also just meeting something to death. You know, it's like death by meetings. Community outreach should be a funnel, right? It should be taking a lot of input, cycling it down to some solutions, getting more input, cycling to the next, so that you're taking a lot of different choices and you're finally putting a fine point on something, and then you're doing it, you know, and then you get it in the ground. Is it going to be perfect? No. Do we make mistakes that way as communities? Heck yeah. But like, at some point, you do need to kind of put a final dot on it, cross your T, and go for it.
I think you look at it like a cake. Most things we do in design feels like a cake. You either put sprinkles on the top, nice frosting, but in terms of a lot of the politics that's in here, we've still got batter in a cake tin. It hasn't even cooked yet. And there's a dichotomy between, I don't know if it's demographics, ages, but there's certainly the youthful part. I'm not calling myself the youthful part, no.
You passed that 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks very much. The youth are after vibrancy. The older population are after a nice place to retire and no traffic and, you know, like a retirement community. And I think BASALT is at the complete crux.
I think another thing is having as diverse a cross-section of the community involved in your outreach as possible. Is the people who are heavily emotionally invested or financially invested or otherwise invested are the ones that come and deliver very, very vocal opinions, and everyone else who has a very valid opinion or has a desire but isn't as extreme in their desire to express it, you know, often just doesn't participate, and that can exacerbate this problem.
Midland Park, honestly, is still one of our best examples of our Spanish-speaking outreach. For whatever reason, the formula that we put together, we basically had whole evenings that were in, you know, almost entirely Spanish, and it was great. The final designs had to be able to put together some of those things that really from different races, they had different ideas of what they wanted to do in the park, and so the master plan had to be able to put those things together. And we never would have revealed that, I think, if we hadn't been very directed about some of that outreach that we did a long time ago.
Yeah, there's a small irony there, though. I mean, I'm going to be controversial and say this, but quite a few of the folks that were giving that feedback are no longer here because they used to live in the Pan and Fork trailer park. So they were giving community feedback, feeling good about the community, but, you know,
They got the boot.
they got the boot, but they got the boot for safety reasons. You know, I don't think what the town of BASALT did was wrong by any means, but there's a small irony there. The people that gave us all that great feedback are no longer citizens of BASALT.